Welcome to Real Talk, where I give real answers to real questions from real worship leaders. If you are a real worship leader with a real question and you want a real answer, head right here and submit your question for a future episode. Got some good questions this week? Let's talk about it. I just started a new position as worship pastor at a multi-site church campus. I recently found out that I will be required to lead the exact same set list in the same keys each week as the central campus. There's also a hidden camera that will be placed in the sanctuary and used to observe me. I have a lot of experience, and so does my worship team. However, I can't help but feel like there may be a lack of trust coming from the central campus church. I'd like to choose songs that fit our congregation's needs and that are playable and singable for our worship team. This is causing some inner conflict, and I'm not quite sure how to address this issue. Let me just say, that would cause me some inner conflict as well. And I don't want to demonize like every multi-site church, because I could see maybe a situation where that works. But in my view, if you're a multi-site church, you're not one church, okay? I know we can try to act like we're all one church, and we can have like one gathering together once a quarter or something, and everybody comes. But listen, churches are a body of believers who have committed to each other, and your body of believers has not committed in any meaningful form to people who live in a different state for sure. They don't even know that they exist. They don't even know who they are. They might hear stories of them, but it's literally, by definition, just another church, okay? You can say you're part of a denomination or something, that's fine, but don't act like you're part of the same church, all right? We're part of the universal church. We can get behind that. You guys can work together, but we need to function as an individual church. So I tell you that just so you know sort of my foundation. I'm not saying that every multi-site church model is wrong. I think some do it better than others, but this right here is a symptom of the problem that I see, is that multi-site churches sometimes, first of all, they take on a corporate structure where we're running more of a business than we are a church. And I know people won't like when I say that, and I'm sure a lot of you serve in multi-site churches. I don't know if your church does that or not, but I'll say it again. A church is a community of believers that are covenanted together. And I don't just mean by signing a piece of paper and going through a membership class. I mean by living life with each other. That is your church. So what happens sometimes is when multi-site churches with a lot of campuses try to make this one church, all right? Once again, you can be multiple different churches and call yourself a multi-site church. I probably wouldn't call it that myself, but I don't have a problem if that's how you're functioning. But when you try a top-down approach where there's a main central campus and they dictate everything that happens to the other campuses, why? Because it's sort of like a franchise model where we figured out the way to do things, which is what you're experiencing. We figured out the way to do things, and so follow our order, and we're also going to be observing you and making sure that you're following our order, the things that we do, the way that we do them. This is what works. So you do that, and then you will be following our franchising options as a franchisee. I know that that's offensive to some people, but that's honestly what I see. And that's kind of what sounds like happening here, right? So you have to ask yourself, first of all, and I'm not saying leave your church tomorrow. I'm just saying this is apparently how they do things. At your multi-site church, you aren't changing the franchise model. They're going to tell you what songs to lead. They're going to tell you what keys to do them in. And I doubt that they really care what you, the new worship leader who just joined a month ago or something, cares about their model. They've been doing it this way for a while. And I'm not even saying that they should care about what you think. You know, you're a new worship leader there. You don't know the system. You don't know how things work. Maybe what they do works really well, and you just haven't realized it yet. I'll give them some grace in this too. But just understand, if you serve in a multi-site church, first of all, I think you should have known that, like through the interview process. Maybe this is your first worship leading job or something, and you didn't watch my video about questions to ask during a worship leading interview. I'll link that video down below. I went through every interview question that my church asked me when I applied at this church and the questions that I asked them to learn more about their church. Maybe you didn't ask those questions. Okay, well, now you're in this situation. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I'm asking myself because I don't think that I would be able to thrive in this situation because it's about, once again, it's about a theology of worship. Is my worship service the one that I plan? Is it a product for people to consume that can be packaged and sent out to other campuses in the area? Those people will consume that package and either like it or not like it. Or is my service, the one that I plan, for the actual people in my church that are right in front of me? The ones that I am covenanted to. That I have said, we are a church together. I know what's going on in your lives. The people at the central campus, they don't even know you exist. You're a number on a page to them. Maybe they visit your church occasionally, but they are not involved regularly in your life. If that's who my church service is for, then I am looking at the people in my church and I'm saying, I am going to lead you. When I plan my worship services, I think about the people in my church, the things going on in their lives, and I nuance what we do for them because I'm leading actual people. I'm not leading a pre-programmed set of things. And I always shape it in the form of the gospel, so I have some sort of, liturgical structure to it that I'm following. But within that structure, I am thinking about what's going on in the lives of the people of my church, and I'm addressing those things. So I guess I would say if you want to try to make this situation work, which I think you should, all right? Don't take a worship leading job at a church and then quit a month later because it's not what you expected. You can learn something. You can 100% learn something from this situation because usually multi-site churches are very well organized. So at least use this time to learn how they organize things, and it will serve you in the future whether you stay there or not. So what would I do? I would look for ways to inject authentic relational leading into the structure that I've been given. I'm sure you have the opportunity to speak between songs or something, or, whatever it is. I don't think they just want you to be a robot. I hope not. But inject things into your service that aren't in that structure, but that tie the structure together, and take the structure and use those injections to tie it to your church, I guess, is the best that I could say. Frame the songs that you sing in a way that makes sense for the people of your church, even though you can't pick them. That's the best I've got. I don't serve in a multi-site church. I don't see myself serving in a multi-site church in the future, but that's what I would do in that situation. What would you do if you have too many vocalists on your team already and there's more asking to audition? My normal policy is that everyone has a place even if you are under development, but the new ones are better singers than my current roster. It means some would only sing every 4 to 5 weeks, and I have to somehow talk to some about stepping away. First of all, that sounds like a good problem to have. Most people are like, I can't find anyone for my worship team, and I want to find more people. You're like, I have too many people for my worship team. What do I do with all of them? Specifically, singers. So let me give you a couple options here. First of all, how strict? It doesn't sound like your audition process is very strict. You're like, basically everybody makes the team as long as they're under development. That wouldn't be my policy. I think there's some baseline, and if they don't meet the baseline criteria where they could lead with me on Sunday, then maybe they come to rehearsal, but I'm definitely not scheduling them on Sunday. So that's the first thing, is just bump up your expectations. If you have all of this demand to sing on the worship team, then check out my worship team toolkit. I'll link it down below, where you can see the expectations I have for my worship team members, and maybe that gives you a sense of what you should be looking for in worship team members as well. And maybe that removes some people that shouldn't be on your worship team, by the way. Not everybody should be on the worship team. Just because somebody can sing doesn't mean that they should be on the worship team. So do that, raise your expectations for this new batch of singers coming in. And then there's two other questions. What do you do when okay, maybe all these people are a good fit for the worship team. They all make the team. What do you do? First of all, it sounds like you could start like a choir sort of thing on the stage. I'm sure you've seen this before, where you have your band up there, and then you have like the lead vocalist. And I don't know how many lead vocalists you typically have on Sunday, but you have your lead vocalist, and then behind them, you could have a group of like 10 singers or something. I don't know how many singers you have, but if you have enough for it to be a problem, you might have enough for you to have a choir of people. And you could even mix those people who you say are under development into the choir, where it's not just them singing on a microphone, but they're blended in with other voices. And you put like a riser up on the stage with different levels, and then they're up on stage, they're adding background vocals to what you're singing. It's sort of enhancing the congregational aspect, where it's not just the lead singer singing, but look, we've also got this choir of people singing, which, by the way, church, you are a part of. We're just reinforcing that idea that it's not just the lead singers up on stage who are the ones who are supposed to be singing. And then now people, if they want to serve every week, they can sing in the choir every week. And then maybe you schedule them, like you talked about, maybe once a month to lead as a lead vocalist. So that's the second thing. First thing was raise your expectations. Second thing was consider implementing a choir in your church. Number 3, I would say, when it comes to new people joining your team, just be really clear on the expectation of how often they're going to serve. I don't think people are going to have a problem with serving once a month as long as you tell them. And I say that because I've seen this a couple times with questions that were sent in. People are like, my worship team leader's only scheduling me once every 6 weeks. And my question is always, well, how many other people do you have on your team in the position that you're in? Because if you have 6 other people and they're just rotating every week, then it's like, yeah, you are only going to be on once every 6 weeks. And then it's like, okay, well, that's not that bad because I'm still serving, the same as everyone else. So just be upfront with new people. But then you also need to tell the people on your current team, listen, we've got a lot of new people coming in who want to sing on the team, and I want to accommodate them. And so just so you guys know, that means that I'm going to schedule you a little less often, give you a little more time off between worship leading, and then also tell them why you're doing it. And do you know why you're doing it? Why are we doing it? We want people in the church to be able to use their gifts to serve the church. We want to create redundancy in our worship team, where if somebody's sick, we can have other people fill in, so on and so forth. Whatever your reasons are, tell that to your team. So they're not just like, oh no, we've got these new people coming in, they're taking up my spot on the worship team. And then also, if you implement that choir, which a choir, by the way, when I say that, it's just like people in the background singing into some choir mics, like you don't mic each individual person, singing into some overhead choir mics. They're basically just a choir in the background that you mix into your songs. Offer them that as well, and say, on the weeks where you're not leading lead vocals, if you still want to sing, you can sing in the choir. So that's how I'd handle that. If you want to see the expectations that I have for my worship team members, singers included, check out down in the description below the worship team toolkit that I put together. It's free. It is my worship ministry overview, my code of conduct, essentially, that you can basically copy and paste right into your own worship ministry. So check that out down in the description below. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Till I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.